welcome to another video from Cardboard East. My name's Jay. I play board games from Asia and share what I find with all of you. So I thought it'd be good to review all the games from 2022. Well, not all the games, just my favorite top 10. So let's get started with you, me, and this little black book. Well, it's not so little. Now, before we get to the top 10, I do want to mention all of these games. 2022 was a very interesting year for the Asian board game community. What happened is that a lot of games got republished, got picked up from a Western publisher and re-released this year. So I just want to highlight some of these games that I think are worth noting and worth trying. Up quick is 9 Lives. This is from Take Shinzawa. If you haven't heard of him, he is a prolific trick-taking designer. He designs lots of games. It's very approachable. Everything's open knowledge. And there's a nice, cute little bidding system with cats on a rug. It's not too harsh. And I think it's a really good intro into Japanese trick-taking games. Cat in the Box might be at the top of this list if it weren't released a few years ago. Cat in the Box is also a trick-taking game. However, in this one, there are no suits. And you're playing tricks and to do this nice little area to control in the center of the board. And you want to get the certain tricks that you bidded for, so that way all your points on the board can score. I find this to be probably the best trick-taking game I've ever played. Better than The Crew. I think The Crew is a better game, but most of the time when I play The Crew, most of the cards in my hand I really don't care about, just to play the ones that I want to. And this one, each card matters, and each card, I can feel the weight as I'm playing it. This is probably the best trick-taking game I've ever played, period. And it plays really well from 2 to 5, and I can't recommend it enough. Carta Marina is a 2-player co-op game, and you don't really see many of those, but this publisher, Utrio, kind of specializes in them. I think this is an excellent game. This came out 2 years ago, and it got picked up by a bigger Japanese publisher, and they released it, got this all-new chrome on it. Essentially, you are on a boat, and you get to get boat from one end to the other. If you don't, you lose. Also, your boat is taking on water, so you have to play cards, very similar to Pandemic style, and you have to throw the water over the board. If you don't, you sink and you lose. Oh, did I mention that a kraken is attacking your ship? So you gotta work your way around that, navigate your ship around rough waters, around rocks, and if you could do that, you win the game. Now, that alone is really neat, but the second edition kind of made it a campaign game. So now there's not just one map, but there are several maps for you to play through. And each map, as you go on through the campaign, unlocks special technologies that you can use that makes playing the game a lot easier. There are also, just like Pandemic, a lot of different characters, even characters that you can unlock. Each character has a different special ability. So for what is in this tiny box, there's a lot of meat to this game, and I definitely think it's a really well-designed 2-player co-op game. Get on Board is the re-release of Let's Make a Bus Route, originally by Sasa and Sashi. This was picked up by Yellow, and they re-released it as Get on Board. I like this a lot more than the original Let's Make a Bus Route because it comes with 2 maps, scales even better than before, and they don't have dry erase boards on the central map, but now you have little wooden components that you kind of throw on there. I think this is an excellent roll and write game, and just don't hit the table, otherwise bad things will happen to you, at least if you're playing with me. Sorry. Box of Cats comes from Thailand. Now, I haven't really covered as many Thailand games as I should, and I'm scheduled, or I have a video planned for later this year where I'll just talk all about the games from Thailand that I've ever played. This is Box of Cats. It's quite fun. It's a very family-friendly game where you're just drawing cards, playing cards, and you're playing cats. Each cat is unique, has different scoring powers, affects different players in different ways. And I find this to be a very light, fun, family-friendly game. Dogs and cats. Psychic Pizza Deliverers Go to the Ghost Town, otherwise known as Psychic Pizza. This is essentially watered down D&D in a box. You have a whole bunch of heroes or pizza deliverers who go into a dungeon, aka the ghost town, and you're looking for a key, your pizza, so that way you can open a door, which is the house that you need to deliver that pizza to. And along the way, there are ghosts that you have to come and punch, if you can punch a ghost, and little treasures you can find, and there are warps that go from here to there. I find this to be a lot of fun, and there are a lot of narrative elements, including to the puzzle, depending on if the ghost mayor or the dungeon master decides to throw them in. The most interesting thing is that you don't see the dungeon, and the dungeon is fixed, so you are listening to everyone else's, where they're going, what's around them, and you're trying to figure out where you are in the Ghost Town. This is a ton of fun. Everyone loves this, including me. Pizza Master Revised Edition also comes from Thailand, and this is a game about making pizza, and it's very similar to like a Euro-style pizza, Euro-style pizza. Well, it is a Euro-style game, strategy game. You're fulfilling orders, you're making pizzas and delivering orders, and you're creating a game, or you're creating a giant pizza, and you're adding toppings to it, and you're trying to make these toppings work so that way you can take them and deliver them. I think this is fantastic. You should start your evening with this, and then proceed on to this. Now, on to my top 10. Now, usually in top 10 lists, I feel that filler games kind of get forgotten. So I want to mention my favorite filler game of the year, and that is Vegetable Stock. It is a very simple drafting game, and as you draft the cards, one card will not be drafted, and that will affect the market. Some vegetables will go up, some vegetables will go down. And you'll have your cards out in front of you, and then by the end of the game, and there's only a few rounds, each card that you have in front of you will be worth X amount of points, depending on how much the vegetables are worth. And then you just tally up your points, and then whoever has the most points wins. Really simple, really does what a filler should do. It's fast, easy to teach, and then you can play it again and again and again. Now, this is the one that was released internationally. This is the one that was released here in Taiwan. And instead of vegetables, it's done with board games and styles of board games. They're both a little bit different, though. The twist for this is that once a stock gets too high, or once a vegetable gets too high, it'll crash and go back down to zero. And this one has the math a little bit different, where like it goes up and down, then it goes up again. And I find this math to be a little bit more challenging, a little bit more fun. However, they're both essentially the same game, and I think they're both excellent fillers to get a hold of. Number 10 is Touch It. That's right, Touch It. Now, I did a previous video where I interviewed the publisher, Lenny, and we talked about Touch It as well as how to play. I really love this game. It's a great family game. You can teach this to a kid in like 10 seconds. You pick up a card, you touch the back, and you have to guess which of the 4 pictures it is. And then you say what it is. If it's the first one and you get it right, you get 2 points. If you got it right, you just get 1 point. Really simple. Watch and repeat. First person to get to 7 points wins the game. And I can't really tell you how much I like this game enough. And there are also different versions of it. There's a kid one with animals. This is the Japanese themed one, and there's a Taiwanese themed one. This is probably my favorite because it's the most colorful, and I like Japanese culture. Number 9, also from Taiwan, is World Splitters by Emperor S4 Games. This is a really good auction game, and I'm really picky about auction games because usually I'm quite terrible at them, but I love the questions that you're asked in this game. I like the fact that it's a very closed economy, so no extra money is added into the game and none is taken out. Now, World Splitters is a very odd theme. I know science fiction isn't everyone's cup of tea, but what's really cool about this is that there are 4 different maps that everyone can play. And it's very, very Instagrammable. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely gorgeous to look at. The only problem I have is that you play with the board like here, kind of balancing on here, just like this. I tend to take the maps out and just place them on here, and so everyone can see. What's really interesting is that you're building fences all over this. And when you place a fence, you bid for it. And then you get to place your person on either side, and then the other person who voted the second highest will go on the other side that wasn't taken. And as you slowly build this up, areas will close off, you score points. If your guy lands on these special little icons, different things can happen. Like you could build an extra fence, or you move up the tie track. So meaning that if there's a tie, you win. And there are only 5 fists on each map. So it's really, really tight. You have to really fight for those and prepare for them. There's also these little green spaces here, and each map, the things do something different. So there's a lot to explore in this game. I really like World Splitters. I think it's a game that definitely does more than I think the sum of its parts. I wouldn't recommend this game at 5, but 3 and 4 are perfect. 8 is Panapita, which is basically pocket crokinole. Jerry, that doesn't fit in your pocket. Well, have you seen a crokinole board? Because those are big. This is a crokinole game, but it's done with magnets. So this is mine. I have all the little expansions here, and you kind of fit on this board, and you're flicking the pieces onto here. And each concentric circle will be worth more points by the end of the game. This can play up to 6. I don't recommend it at 6. I think the base game of 2 to 4 is perfect because at 2 there's a really good back and forth. 3 is pretty good. 4 a little bit too much chaotic. Once you get to 5 and 6, like I hit one and then all these other people go and then maybe I shoot again. So there isn't as much depth there in the gameplay, but I think at the 2, 3, and 4 level, just like the base game, I think this is a fantastic find. Planet Pita, if you can find a copy of it, definitely grab it. I used to put this game in bags and figure out how to fit it, but then I realized I'll just put all the magnets on there and it just kind of fits as well. One of the other cool things I like about Planet Pita is that they're tokens that you put onto your pucks, and they're magnetic, so they stick to the puck. Brilliant. 7 is Ninja Master. Now, Itzin has released a lot of the Funbrick series games this year. This is the one that came out this year, and it's probably my favorite out of all the Funbrick series. Rainer Knizia did a really great job with this game. It's a real time. I'm really big with real time, but I love that there's this fun silliness in there. I have little house rules where you have to do a ninja pose before you fight, and then you say the number of the heads that are rolled, ninja 5. You're grabbing all these little ninjas, and each ninja is worth different points. Sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're negative if you're not too careful. There's a katana in this game, and if you grab the katana, you get half of the points of the player that's in the lead. So as you're in the lead, you're just filled with anxiety as that sword's there, and you want to grab the sword every single time to prevent someone else from grabbing it. But if you grab it when you're not supposed to, you lose points. So there's a lot to this game. I find it a lot of fun. I've played this with kids, and the kids love it. Ninja Master, 2 ninja thumbs up. 6 is Railway Boom. Now, this is from Okazu brand, which is Hisashi Hayashi's brand. Hisashi Hayashi hasn't come out with a big game in a while, in a few years. So when he said that he's going to be releasing this, I reached out to him, got this. This is fantastic. I really like this. This is a Cube Rails game, and it's not really what people would consider as a Cube Rails game in terms of the West. Like, there isn't really a stock market that you kind of there's into the stocks and you buy in shares. It's not like that. But there are cubes, and there is a game, and it's about logistics, and it is a Cube Rails game, but just slightly different from what we think of it as the West. What's really cool about this is that there are like 3 auction rounds every single reign. There's 3 phases, and each phase there's an auction, and you're auctioning off with the resource that you're using. So there's one auction that you use with money, and then if you win, then you get to spend money to do other stuff. There's an auction that you do science with, and then if you win, you could spend your leftover science to kind of buy more tech and buy more cards. So I find that element really interesting. You're bidding with the currency that you're going to be using, and so there's this nice push and pull, and there's no money in the game. Like, everyone has these deck of cards, and so you're doing 10, 5. You place 2 cards down, they add up to 3. They add up to 7. And so it's really, really interesting. It is a little bit problematic because not all the cards have English on them. Actually, none of the cards do. But the iconography is really, really clear. Hisashi Hayashi excels at that. But the rulebook is translated, and it is on BGG, and you just look things up. All the cards are actually numbered, so you can look it up in the rulebook if you're not sure. This is a fantastic game. If you're a big Hisashi Hayashi fan like I am, this is one that I definitely would recommend. Number 5 is, oh my gosh, Jiangnan. Ooh, from My Ideas Games and here in Taiwan. This is the biggest game that they have ever done, and it is by far my favorite of them. Like, you can't really see it here, but there's a giant map, which is really fascinating. And what's really, really cool, and I did a how to play video, and you can go there and how to play, but it combines like deck building, bag building with area control, and it's done in a very interesting way. Like, I send my workers to all these different areas, and then at the end of the round, all the workers there fall into these boats, and then the boats slide over, and then you play the thing again. So workers go down, they fall onto boats, and then the boats move again. So as your boat is moving along, it's slowly getting more and more workers from all the different players, and the boat is this nice little area control. And when the boat goes off and out of the city, the winner of the boat controls how points are scored for the game. So if you're leaning more towards art, you choose art. If you're leaning more towards hiking, you choose hiking. And it's really, really interesting. I really like the choices here. It's very tight for the gameplay. I think that when you first play this game, you're going to feel the decisions are too tight and you can't make a good quality decision. But I promise by game 3, you'll really see it. You'll begin to really know how to manipulate the board really well and get ahead of everyone. Like, I can't recommend this game enough. I think my ideas did a really great job of this. This was designed by Dugu Wei, who is a really good upcoming designer of Taiwan, and he has done lots of games, including Yin Yang, which is right here. And that is Zhengnan. That's heavy. Let's see, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Number 4. It's an even bigger box. That is Ostia by Uchibukoya Games. Now, this game is done by Tatsuko Chuo. I did a video about him and all his games that have been released. This is a really, really, really smooth game. It is a Mancala game. So essentially it has a Mancala thing a la Trajan. Now, someone says, like, if I have this, do I need Trajan? Well, these are very, very two different games. I think there's definitely enough room for both. The only thing they have in common is they both have a Mancala system, and that's it. In Ostia, you are slowly getting resources as you put boats around your Mancala, and then you're sending them off on these nice little logistics tracks, and you're pushing these boats farther right to get the destinations, and you score more points. This is really, really smooth. Like, once I taught everyone, and it teaches not that long either, it's like 10 minutes maybe. Then once you do it, everyone does their turn, and then you move, fast. I do my turn, done. You do your turn, done. And before I know it, it's my turn again. The gameplays I do with this have been really smooth and really quick, and I really like all the variability here. This came with like lots of expansions that I'm kind of slowly exploring, and they do what I like most, is that they just give you, here's cards, well, here's more cards. There are boats, there's more boats. So I think this is a game that's definitely worth exploring, and the solo game is actually quite good as well. Number 3 is not a big box. It's this tiny little game. This is Unreliable Wizard. This is not available in English, but the rulebook has been translated, and I also added some more translations onto BGG. This is a JRPG in a tiny deck of cards, and it's fantastic. Essentially, it's called Unreliable Wizard because all the heroes went off to defeat the Demon Lord. And they all got captured along the way. So you, as a wizard's apprentice, have to go off on this adventure, and you fight monsters, and you save the other parties of your hero. And each hero member unlocks a different battle system, and you get stronger and stronger as you go on. Eventually, you'll make your way all the way to the dungeon lord, and hopefully you beat him. What I really like about this game is the battle system. Essentially, you're this wizard, and you start off with like these 3 cards, and you say, I'm going to use 2 cards, and you shuffle the deck, and you draw 2. And ideally, it will be the ones that you want, so you'll be able to do a nice, strong attack. But sometimes it's not. Hence, you're the unreliable wizard, which totally makes sense because you're like this wizard apprentice. And as you defeat more and more monsters, you'll get more and more spell cards, and you'll have more and more options in the spells that you could do. You can even unlock a new tome that gives you even more spells. You could find your old party members, and they can give you more spells or make you stronger with basic attacks. And there's even different types of terrain that you walk on that hurts your HP, and then you can heal yourself. Like, I was really, really impressed with how much game there is in this tiny little box. Unreliable Wizard, definitely worth a find if you can find it. From Taiwan is Pathogen. Pathogen. This is a 2-player abstract, and it is fantastic. If you're looking for a game that's stripped down, I think Pathogen is an excellent find. It's called Pathogen because one person plays as the plague and one person is the plague doctor. You are essentially, there is a checkerboard, and you essentially have to bridge the sides. So if you could drop these little wooden tokens of yours that connect the left and right sides, you win the game. The top and the bottom, you win the game. What's interesting though is that you have 2 pawns. One only moves on black and one only moves on white. So you have to get your 2 pawns to work together to make that bridge. At the same time though, the other player also has 2 pawns, and they're trying to do the exact same thing that you are. However, it's a little bit different because they play slightly differently. The Plague has more pieces out at the start of the game, but the Doctor has more actions each turn. So it creates this asymmetric dynamic where at the beginning of the game, the Plague is really strong and the Doctor is a little bit weak, and the Doctor has to come out of the gate fighting, curing the tokens, removing the Plague's tokens as much as they can, and slowly building up a defense. And when you get to mid-game, it's about even, and then in the late game, the Doctor has the lead. And it's really, really, really fascinating. I find myself sitting here looking at this and just kind of blown away by all the different choices you have here and how well done it's executed. In addition to that, like, you could build these tokens up. So instead of just one where they clean one and it's easy to move, oh, you could drop 2, you could drop 3, you drop 4, you drop enough, and then you build a building. And then now your opponent can't even enter that space anymore. So the way the map is laid out, you can find choke points that you could build a building there, and it's even harder for your opponent to move and navigate around the board. You do that 4 times in each part of the board, then you win the game. Now, what's really cool is that each of those tiles, each of the 4 tiles that make up the board are double-sided, and there's even more of them. So every time you play the game, it'll be a different experience. I think I calculated to like well over 100 different variations of the board, so there's a lot of game here to explore. And that is Pathogen, one of the best abstract games I've ever played. And number 1, if you follow me on Instagram, then you know game of the year for me is Nukumi 2. I just call it Nukumi 2. This publisher has made a previous game last year, and the last year, or should I say 2 years ago, it was very similar to Agricola, but instead of building a farm, you're building a traditional hot spring hotel. And you're putting the rooms down, and each room powers off of each other, and getting all these helpers to come in, which are these little worker cards, and you're slowly getting resources and building up your little hot spring hotel and trying to make the best one in the town of Nukumi, which is the fictional town. This sequel has you building the town itself, and this, I think, blows Nukumi 1 out of the water. I absolutely adore this game. I love that they think of it as Orleans, which is a bag building game, but it's a lot lighter, tighter, and faster. This is only 5 rounds, so it's really, really tight. You need to make sure that each action that you take is impactful, especially in the early games. Like, you want to make sure that you have enough resources, so that way in the later rounds, you could build bigger buildings. And each round, you got to be building buildings, otherwise you will lose the game. I really, really love this. I love how there are all these different things you could do, building buildings next to other players. Like, some buildings will give you special points or more money if you build them next to the other players. There's a cat that you have to chase around the town, and if you can capture the cat, then you get to be first player, and you also gain some money while you're at it. In addition to that, there are all these characters that come that you can draw and play, and they all have different things. Oh, you can build a free building, you can move up this happiness track, or you can move up the food track. And there's just a lot of fun here to explore. And what's even cooler is that there are characters. There's 12 of them. Each character is different. So you can play this game multiple times using one of the 12 different power abilities. And yeah, there's just a lot of fun to have. I play this at 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each time I've had a blast. This is the best game from Asia from 2022. And that has been my review of some of the best games from Asia of last year. Stick around to Cardboard East. Up here, I'm going to put a link to some more videos that I think you'll enjoy. See you there.